Norwegian Cruise Lines reported its third quarterly earnings report today, and despite a negative top and bottom line report, the stock actually soared and went up by almost 27%. So in this video, we'll discuss what caused this soar in the stock price for Norwegian Cruise Lines, as well as the other major cruise lines, including Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise. And we'll also take a closer look at the third quarterly earnings report for Norwegian Cruise Lines. Lastly, of course, I will disclose my own holdings in these cruise companies and discuss what is my approach when it comes to these cruise companies, whether I would buy or sell my shares. Watch this video until the end and let me know what you think. The major cruise companies had a phenomenal run today. In fact, Carnival Corporation shares were up by $5.42 or close to 40%. The Royal Caribbean Cruise shares were up by $16.86 or almost 29%. And lastly, Norwegian Cruise Lines shares were up by $4.56 or almost 27%. This was mainly due to the optimism with a vaccine. In fact, today, according to Pfizer's latest report on its experimental vaccine, there was a new ray of hope and optimism for an effective treatment. Pfizer announced today that the vaccine they have been developing with BioNTech was more than 90% effective in phase 3 clinical study, citing results from an external and independent data monitoring committee. This positive news had a major impact and boost for a number of sectors, especially in the consumer discretionary, and cruise lines were definitely positively impacted by this news. Alright, so as we mentioned earlier, Norwegian Cruise Lines released its third quarterly earnings report today, and we're gonna take a deeper look into what we see and observe in their quarterly earnings report. As a current or future potential investor in cruise companies, I think looking closely at the Norwegian Cruise Lines earnings report gives you an idea how this company is run and potentially gives you some guidance as to what you could expect from other similar cruise companies out there, in particular the Royal Caribbean and Carnival Cruise, when they would release their quarterly earnings later. As for Norwegian Cruise Lines, they had a net loss of $677.4 million, and they reported a negative $2.50 earnings per share, compared to a much different numbers back in the previous year. In fact, in 2019, for a similar period, they had reported $450.6 million in terms of net income and $2.09 in terms of earnings per share in quarter 3 of 2019. What's more, their quarterly revenue has decreased drastically, and in fact now being at only about $6.5 million in terms of revenue compared to $1.9 billion revenue in Q3 of 2019. This is due to complete suspension of their voyage in the quarter. On a more positive tone though, their operating expenses has decreased by 80.8% in 2020 compared to 2019. In 2020, Norwegian Cruise operating expenses were primarily related to crew costs, including salaries, food, and other repatriation costs, fuel, and other ongoing costs such as insurance and ship maintenance. As you might be aware, the US Center for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, had issued a framework for conditional sailing order, replacing the no-sail order that will permit cruise ship passenger operating in the US waters under certain conditions. The phases that are outlined in the conditional order include testing and additional safeguards for crew members while building laboratory capacity needed to test guests and crew in the future, simulated voyage to test a cruise ship operator's ability to mitigate the risks, certification for ships that meet specific requirements, a phased return to guest voyage in a manner that mitigates the risk of the disease transmission among guests, crews, and communities visited. Norwegian has said that while the conditional order represents a step forward in the resumption of cruising in the US, significant uncertainties remain regarding certain requirements of the conditional order, including pending technical instructions for future phases. As the company said in a press release, the company will continue to work with both the CDC and its expert advisors to refine its comprehensive health and safety strategy to comply with all aspects of the conditional order. Looking at the cruise bookings and its outlook for Norwegian Cruise Lines, we noticed from the report that while booking volumes since the emergence of the pandemic remain below historical levels, there continues to be demand for future cruise vacations, particularly beginning for sailing operating in the second half of 2021 and beyond. As Norwegian Cruise stated in its earnings release, Our overall cumulative booking position for the first half of 2021 remains below historical range, as expected, due to the current uncertain environment. However, for the second half of 2021, it is in line with historical ranges. Pricing for full year 2021 is in line with pre-pandemic levels, even after including the dilutive impact of future cruise credits. Pent-up future demand for cruising is further demonstrated by record booking achievements in September and October of 2021, including Oceania's Cruise Labor Day upgrade sales, which was the most successful holiday promotion in the line's history. A new World Cruise Opening Day booking record for Regent 7 Seas Cruises 2023 World Cruise, and a new all-time largest single booking day in Regent's history with the launch of its 2022-2023 Voyage collection. As of September 30th, 2020, the company had $1.2 billion of advanced ticket sales. Norwegian Cruise Line has taken a number of financial action plans to better navigate through these difficult times. These include closing on a series of capital market transactions in July 2020, resulting in $1.5 billion of gross proceeds. Add to that an extended workforce furlough, extended 20% salary reduction for all shoreside team members, and continued significant reductions or deferrals of near-term marketing expenses, marketing investments, and other such expenses. The company's cash burn rate in the third quarter of 2020 was at approximately $150 million per month. As for 2020 outlook, while Norwegian Cruise Lines had mentioned that it cannot estimate the impact on its business, financial conditions, or near or longer term financial or operational results with certainty, given the pandemic, it will report a net loss on both a US GAAP and adjusted basis for the fourth quarter and the year ending in December 31st, 2020. Alright, so as I indicated earlier in this video, all the three major cruise companies were up today by leaps and bounds in terms of their stock price, and they had a really good run given the optimism with the vaccine and its effectiveness. And that being said, as I had promised, I'm gonna disclose how many shares of these cruise companies I have in my various portfolios and what is my average purchase price. I currently have 17 shares of Norwegian Cruise Lines with an average purchase price of $16, which shows a return of 35% so far. What's more, I have 27 shares of Carnival Corporation with an average cost basis of $14.90, which shows a return of 29% so far. I'm quite glad that I took advantage of the recent decline in the stock price for these two companies, and in fact added to my positions and tried to dollar cost average more and more, which is definitely a happy day for me given how these two companies for sure have returned and performed in the stock market. As for my investing strategy when it comes to these cruise companies, I would most likely hold on to my position at this time. I would not add to my positions given that, you know, I'm just already showing a very decent return. If for any reason these stocks continue to cool off and, you know, the prices go down, I might continue to add to my positions again, given that I have a longer term horizon for these companies. Do you own shares of any of these cruise companies in your portfolio? Would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comment section down below, and if you don't mind, perhaps share what's your cost basis for those stocks. There you have it, folks. I hope you found this video beneficial and you gained something of value from it. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who might benefit from the video as well. Don't forget to subscribe to Momentum channel. Here on Momentum channel, we post weekly videos about stock market investing and financial freedom. Hope to see you next time.